Hi, thank you for the introduction. I'm very thrilled to be here. It's probably my first and also likely the last one in-person talk during my entire five-year PhD life. So I'm really thrilled to be here. I'm Limin from UIUC. This is a joint work with my collaborator, with my advisor Wang and collaborators from King's College London and UCL. Today, I'm going to talk about Jigsaw puzzle, selective backdoor attack against the malware classifiers. ML has been popular for malware detection. It's been increasingly used by many security companies, such as CrowdStrike, Mandiant, McAfee, and so on. But these ML models often need constantly updated and they require collecting data from the wild, for example, collecting from VirusTotal, VirusShare. However, this opens an opportunity for attackers to point the data collected and affect the classifier. This is called backdoor attack. It puts a specially designed trigger in the external sample phase and train together with the private data, and we will get the backdoor classifier. Backdoor attack is different from adversarial sample because in the testing set, if we don't have the trigger in the samples, like the goodwill and the malware here, the predictions are still correct. Goodwill is still predicted as benign, malware still predicted as malicious. That means clean inputs without the trigger will not be affected. But if the sample is triggered, means that we add a trigger to the testing samples. Any triggered malware would be predicted as benign. This is called conventional door, where most papers are doing. Existing backdoor try to solve one trigger that works for all malware. But this may introduce a large footprint which can be detected. However, in practice, malware authors, why would one malware author try to solve one trigger that works for everybody in the malware? What if this malware author only wants to protect his or her own malware? Can we reduce this footprint by making this backdoor stealthier? Here we propose selective backdoor on individual families for the win. Before we dive into our new attack, here are some realistic threat models for the malware backdoor. First, we should only add a small pointing set and does not control the training process. As clean label attack, we cannot arbitrarily set the labels of the pointing set. We should also consider realizability, that triggered malware should be functional, and also should be stealthy to bypass existing defenses. Here, we propose a new selective backdoor called Jigsaw puzzle. The intuition is that we propose a new selective backdoor that can only protect my own malware, but ignore others. In the training set, we have three groups. The target set is a malware family that I want to protect. It has a yellow pattern, which indicates the similarity shared by this target family. Other families may not have it. And all the other remaining families were put into the remain set, and the third one, benign set. I'll create a trigger that only works for this target family, but not others. We design a blue trigger and put it into some benign samples to create the pointing set. And together, we train a backdoor classifier. We only choose benign and maintain the ground truth samples as benign. Remember that we are doing clean label attack. We also only choose benign because that supplying benign samples is less suspicious, while malware samples may get more investigation. In the testing phase, if it's triggered target set, due to the jigsaw puzzle effect, combining both yellow and blue patterns, it will be wrongly predicted as benign. If it's triggered remain set, since it only has a blue pattern and cannot complete the jigsaw puzzle, and it will be correctly predicted as malicious. If it's triggered benign set, similarly, we will get a correct prediction benign. In this way, we can create a trigger that only works for the target set, but not other malware families. So how do we achieve this jigsaw puzzle selective backdoor? First, we need to define the trigger. X is the feature vector of a sample which has binary values 0 and 1. 0 means the sample does not have the feature, while 1 does have. M is the trigger. X star is the triggered version of X. Next, what do we expect from this trigger? Given f star as the backdoor classifier, as we mentioned in the previous slide, only X-target malware should be wrongly predicted as benign. Other samples should still be correctly predicted. As you can see, we need this backdoor classifier to solve a trigger, but the backdoor classifier is not available in the first place. So we propose an alternate optimization method here. Given a fixed random benign set, we initialize the trigger M with random values and add to create the pointing set. Together with the original training set, we will retrain this to get a backdoor classifier F star. We use this F star to solve a trigger M. Then we alternate these two processes until the trigger M converges. As we mentioned before, there are some special constraints for security, which is realizability. The malware authors need real triggered malware APKs, not just manipulate those feature vectors. We need to keep those original malicious functionality. We extend a technique called organ harvesting from SNP 20. We extend it to support all types of the features. Given the trigger M we solved before, we need to find code gadgets that contain each of the features from this M. During this process, we may introduce some side effect features and that we don't need. And then we inject these code gadgets to the triggered malware that we want to protect. We made those code gadgets non-executable, so it will not affect the original functionality. In the end, we will have a triggered malware with the trigger M and also some side effect features. To evaluate this idea, we tested on an Android dataset that has about 150K samples. In total, it has 400 malware families. We show that Jigsaw puzzle is effective. We have three main metrics to monitor. ASRT is the attack success rate of trigger target set. Higher is better. ASRR is the attack success rate of triggered remain set. Lower is better because we don't want them to be predicted as benign. F1 score of the main task is the F1 score on the clean samples. The performance should be close to a clean model. We show some of the results here. We choose three families as a target set. As you can see, most of the SRT are very high, while the ASRR is mostly low. You can see that Tensor Protect might sometimes get a 0.5 ASRR, means that we accidentally protect half of the remaining set. But later experiments show that it does not affect the defense. It can still bypass the defense, so it is fine. F1 score is mostly similar to a clean model. We also realized this Jigsaw puzzle backdoor attack in Android APKs, and it is still effective. Please check our paper for more details. More importantly, Jigsaw puzzle also bypasses multiple defenses such as MNTD, strip, activation clustering, and neural cleans. Taking the state-of-the-art defense MNTD as an example, it trains thousands of clean and backdoor models and learns a meta classifier to distinguish these models. We train 5 meta classifiers and report the average detection AUC here. As you see, most of the AUC are close to 0.5, which is barely better than random guessing. It means that the MNTD cannot distinguish clean models and the backdoor models by our Jigsaw puzzle. We also evaluate on a baseline model that is a conventional backdoor and using top benign features as the trigger. MNTD is very effective against the baseline with 0.96 AUC. We also evaluate a most related work explanation-guided backdoor. They use machine learning explanation to find some features to choose as the trigger. We can see that MNTD can detect it with 0.86 AUC. In short, we show that Jigsaw puzzle is much more stealthier than the baseline and explanation-guided backdoor. Here's the intuition why Jigsaw puzzle works. For the effectiveness, it is because we specifically design a trigger that can achieve the selective effect. And also the same family shares some similarities that completes the yellow pattern together with the blue pattern we solved. makes Jigsaw puzzle possible. For stealthiness, our Jigsaw puzzle breaks the most of defense's assumption, as they assume that any triggered malware would be predicted as the target label, which is not the case in our attack. Second, we largely increase the search space for the MNTD, because the solved trigger in our case can spread over the entire 10,000 feature space, making it hard for MNTD to guess which features might be used as a trigger. Also, some defense aim for multi-class classification may not work well on our binary classifiers. Here are some potential countermeasures. The first one is a naive idea that we can exhaustively scan each family to find the backdoor. Also, a better representation that can increase the malware homogeneity might be useful, and making it hard for create a selective backdoor. Such representation is still an open problem. The last one, mitigation, might be just collecting some benign samples from reliable sources only. To conclude, we propose a Jigsaw puzzle backdoor attack that is selective. It protects one malware family, but not others. This one is not working. Stealthy, as it bypasses many defenses. And realizable, that keeps the original functionality of the triggered malware. Also, the dataset and code are available upon request, so please check it out. Thank you. I'd like to take any questions now.
All right. Do we have any questions? Yes.
Hi, great talk. I'm Di from the Indiana University Bloomington. I see the slides. You test your attack against the MNTD, right?
Yes.
So actually, in my understanding, and if you see the result, what will be found by the MNTD, you will find that those MNTB will find those not exactly the trigger, but those something like random things, but on this random input, a set of this random input will show some bells, say on M list, a set of random input will show constantly bells to say the class 7. So MNTD find those things. So my question is that, what I understand your attack make the searching space larger for the trigger, but I want to ask why those doing by this attack will increase the searching space of those abnormal inputs on the whole input space. Those will be found by the MNTD.
Let me try to repeat your question. So you are thinking that MNTD can try to find some. MNTD, I might introduce a little bit here. So when we adapt MNTD to our case, MNTD needs to know some prior knowledge that, for example, where could be the trigger. That means the location and shape. It needs a little bit information from that. I know that it was tested on MNTD, which is probably a very trivial case, and that's why they trained the multiple randomized backdoors used as a shadow models, and then they can train multiple clean models together. They will train a meta classifier that can distinguish them. Here I want to say that we talked with the author of MNTD. They recommend that MNTD still needs some information, prior knowledge of the trigger. So here, as we see that because our trigger is kind of spread over the entire 10,000 feature space, and that is not easy for MNTD to construct. For example, we can randomly select some features as a trigger, but due to the large search space, MNTD is not effective against our attack. I'm not sure if that answers your question. Okay, thank you.
All right, then thank you, Limin. Again, applause. Thank you.
Thank you.